Hi, welcome back to Smoking Cheltenham. Not long now, 5 days or so. I got my first little sort of tingle today. Like a, I don't know, you might have noticed still gathered. I'm pretty kind of laid back sort of guy really, but I felt a bit of excitement today for the first time. Normally get that a bit earlier. I don't know. I think it was a bit of excitement anyway. It might be somewhat medical. I don't know. Calm down again now. But yeah, I just had a little rush, like, that kind of like Christmas feeling when you're little, like, So yeah, we're getting there, aren't we now? Um, yeah, sorry I kind of missed you last week. I just got busy away with stuff, like, kind of life got in the way a bit, and it's kind of set me back a bit with the handicaps. I'm a bit behind now. But it is what it is. At least we maybe got a bit more idea, I think, of the ground and things like that. So we might lose a few prices, but we might gain a bit. The closer you get, the more clarity you've got, and the more information you've got. So it swings and roundabouts. Like we've got some kind of pretty prices locked in already. Anyway, it's about trying to find the winners now, isn't it? So yeah, I don't know if you caught the videos I did with Mark. I did do those. You might have seen me in those a couple of days back. Really enjoyed that. Mark's a kind of veteran Cheltenham rambler, proven track record. I enjoyed hearing his sort of views on a wide range of the races, like, it's worth listening to. Today, what we're going to be doing then, I've got some more bets to put up, and we'll have like an ante-post roundup as well. I'll let you know where we are with everything, and I'll ramble on a bit about some of the races again as I do. And yeah, got a bit of time, so it could be a bit of a ramble today. We could be looking at like an hour or so. Might tip over depending. Okay. Right then. So the first of our bets is going to be in the Ultima, and a horse I've had a bit on there is Quebecois at Paul Nicholls. A bit unsure if to put it down for 2 or 3 points. I've sort of had more than two but less than three on it. I sort of wrote two, then three. It looks like 23, but we're not we're not having 23 points on it. Um, if we go 3 points, we're kind of committing to that as being a main selection. I keep edging that way, so we'll do that. We'll go 3 points. Quebecois 12 to 1. I think it's generally available. Um, yeah, as an hurdle last year, his last start came at Ayr, stepped up to 3 mile for the first time. That form worked out nicely. Beat a horse called Jump Allen, who is kind of fancied here for the handicap hurdles. He won his next start at Sandown, and then he's only been out once this year and won a charity race a couple of weeks back. Third horse that day was a horse called Barra Tablet, who also won his next two races. So the form worked out pretty well there. That was the first time he had a tongue tie as well and stepped up to 3 mile. So I suppose you wouldn't be sure what brought about the improvement the most, the sort of step up in trip or the tongue tie, maybe a bit of a combination. Had a couple of light ordinary efforts this year. And then he came to the trials meeting, and that novice handicap chase at the trials meeting that's got like a rich record at the producing festival winners. He went down by a nose there, just a nose to Jordan's Cross. Weren't quite sure about how strong that form were at the time, but subsequently the forms worked out really nicely of that race. he jumped and travelled great in that race. He's like a big chasing type. He's only 7, and he's only had 4 chase runs. Paul, he tends to give these horses, these big chasing types, plenty of time to mature. And once, they can seem a little disappointing for a season or two, but once they kind of find the way, often there's more to come. He's only rated 139 after 4 chase runs. I think there's some upside to him, I think he's got scope off that mark. As a novice, novices have a good record in this race. Yeah, off 139 up to 3 mile. He's got stamina in his pedigree. Yeah, I think he's got scope to improve plenty on that marker 139. Probably race sort of prominently, which is often not a bad thing on the old course at Cheltenham. So yeah, we'll go 3 points on him at 12s. The JP's got a strong looking hand in this. I've got to have a bit more look at those. If we have another bet, it's probably just going to be a couple of points on one of the JP horses. But yeah, I'd be happy to make this. I'm a bit. They're short enough, the JP ones, and I'm just a little bit. Yeah, I've got to have a bit more of a dig into them really. But at 12-1, I'm happy to have a pop at this guy. We'll have a little pop at him. Right then, the next of our bets. I'm not sure why we just didn't put this up soon as the non-runner no bet came in. Champion Hurdle. Yeah, it's got to be Lossiemouth, hasn't it? Non-runner no bet. Yeah, I checked all these prices this morning. I haven't put up anything for Wednesday because we got the sort of 5-day decks coming through today. So the markets for Wednesday are probably a bit more volatile, so I kind of left those races okay. But yeah, checked all the prices this morning. Lossiemouth, she's 11-4 there, non-runner no bet. We'll have 6 points on her, okay. If she does come here, I think she'll go off nearer 6-4, to be honest. I think she'll go off favourite. I'm sure she'll be well backed if she comes here. Look, it's my girl, and I think it's generally accepted. It's not the best, sort of deepest champion hurdle. She comes alive at Cheltenham. I'll be honest. As I mentioned a couple of videos ago, I weren't fully sure if she were fully right. This season. She were brilliant last year at Cheltenham, but then she just started this thing where she was hanging her head a little to the right at Aintree, I noticed, and she won, which people do there. But then they put away for the season, when I'm sure the intention were before that to get her out again. And then Leopardstown a couple of times this year when she beat Gordon's big mare, and then when she lost to Brighter Days Ahead, both times then she was doing the thing where she was hanging her head to the right a little. So I'm not sure what that is, but certainly she's tough. She's tough. I mean, even on her bad days, as I was saying to Mark the other day, at Kempton, when she went behind Constitutional and the last day behind Brighter Days Ahead, she was like never going from the first. She went down fighting, she's a tough mare. Last year, she had plenty of doubts about her coming in here. She came off a horrible fall, at the DRF, and the reports were that she was working poorly. She weren't working well either, and then she turns up and she just looked amazing. Like, she's full of enthusiasm in Paul's hands. She just seems to come alive at Cheltenham. So, backing her in the hope that she is how she's been for the last few years at Cheltenham. I mean, she's recorded high level of form this year. You wouldn't say her form's really dipped particularly. So, and yeah, she just seems different to me at Cheltenham than anywhere else. Willie did say she worked particularly well the other day, so that sounded positive. Now, of course, right, she may not come here. I mean, of the opposition, yeah, look, she might not come here. Basically, I'll see you again on Monday, and we'll pick something else which I've been heard of, because she's probably going to end up in a mess. But if she does, it's not running out betting it, and she's 11-4. And if she runs it, she's not going to be 11-4, and she's going to have a cracking chance. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. We got 6 points on Lozzie for this, and it'd be great to see her get a big day, and if she don't, yeah, I'll see you Monday. And, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. If she's not here, it's going to be some mix of the new Lion and the reigning champion. It's Golden Ace. It's New Lion and Golden Ace for me if Lozzie Mouth's not here. So we'll probably have a main bet on New Lion and a small bit on Golden Ace there. I think that's, probably not be winning the race too much. But if Loz is here, we'll just go all in on Lozzie. Okay. So 6 points, 11-4. Yeah. 4 miler. Or 3 mile 6 novice handicap chase. Yeah, I've been having a look at this. We'll go. Got to have a look at it a bit more, but a bet I've placed going to be my main dart at the race, I think. So we'll go 3 points on him, and that horse is Brave Fortune, and he's generally 12-1 for Joseph O'Brien. Yeah, I mean, Quebecois and Brave Fortune, I've got the entries. I'm working on like good to soft now for the first day. I think it's soft, good to soft in places, and it's sort of generally drying out. There's not much rain forecast. Okay, so I'm kind of working on that assumption now. If it came up soft heavy, neither of these horses, I don't think Quebec or Brave Fortune would probably be running. They want a nice bit of ground, I think. Right. Yeah, he's just had the 4 chase starts. He made his chase debut in a Tipperary beginners, and that turned out to be a very hot beginners. He came 3rd there, beaten 12 lengths or so. The winner was Western Fold, who's rated in the 150s now. Oscar's brother came 2nd, rated in the 150s. Brave Fortune was 3rd. He comes here off 138. The 4th horse was Rushmount, who is now rated in the 140s, and the 5th horse was Blaze the Way, who's I think rated 140 now. So off 138, he looks quite nice here. He then came out over 3 mile 1 at Roscommon and beat a horse called Uncle Pat, who's done his little bit for the form as well. They beat him well. Under pressure throughout, Uncle Pat were travelling all over him, but his stamina kicked in and he stayed on strongly to the line, and I think he won by 7 or so at the line. Looks a strong stayer. He then left Pat Doyle, I think it were, and he was he's certainly gone to Joseph O'Brien anyway, and made, that was in the summer, those 2 runs. Made his debut for Joseph in December, well beaten by the Enabler, beat 30 length or so there. Then he came out again and ran at Thurles at 2 mile 5, and he came second of 14, narrowly going down to a horse called Rising Dust. That was 2 mile 5. He was staying on all the way to the line there, again came under pressure, 2-3 out. It looks like he's crying out for a stamina test and a nice bit of ground, and I think he certainly looks, he's got scope to play with off that 138. So he's nicely handicapped. He wants a nice stamina test with a bit of nice ground, and that should bring out some improvement in him. So he comes here with his chance, and yeah, I think 12-1's fair enough for him. So we'll go 3 points Brave Fortune there. Not going to go through all the opposition and stuff too much. These are competitive handicaps. There's plenty there with the chances that you can argue a case for. Okay. Right then. The next one comes in the Jack Richards, and it's Slade Steel. This is the one whose price did change from yesterday. I wrote down 10-1. 10's isn't there now. He's 9-1 in one place, I think, or maybe 2. He's certainly 9-1 at Bet Victor. I can get on there. I'm on this fellow already. I had a bit of change each way on him at 25s. Now, if you saw the videos the other day, it seemed for all the world like Cocktail de Vin were coming here, and I thought Slade Steel would be going to the plate. It made sense, Cocktail de Vin had been like heavily supported. I would expect him to be sat here and having to put this Cocktail de Vin up at like 4s or 5s or something, But Henry said yesterday he's more leaning towards the Browns, and with the ground seemingly coming nice now, it seems that might be the way it goes. And Slade Steel wasn't entered, he was left out of the plate yesterday. So if he's going anywhere, he's going here to the Jack Richards. I wouldn't have thought he'd be running here if Cocktail de Vin's running here. So at 9-1, we'll have a couple of points on him. Look, he's got scope there to kind of have another horse maybe as the main selection. We're looking at a few others in that as well. I think Paul's horse here, I'm looking at this race like I want something with sort of grade 1 potential, maybe something you could see running in a Ryanair next year, and that's strong on Cocktail de Vin for this. But I mean, Slade Steel's a grade 1 winner. He won at the festival, taking out the Supreme. I don't think he was ever quite right last season. He's not actually managed to win a chase yet, but some of his form looks nice there behind the likes of Lecky Watson, Predators Gold this season. Joystick, he just got outstayed in sort of soft heavy ground at 3 Mile last time, but he travelled lovely into the race. Not quite sure how much he's going to find when push comes to shove, but I'm sure he's going to travel into the race really well, and for that reason you may want to back him each way. But I'm going to just put him up on the nose here, 2 points at 9s, and we'll have a bit more of a look at that race. I was just thinking then while I was talking about that, Quebecois, yeah, put him up on the nose. It'd be a nice sort of, if you wanted to play him each way, I'd suggest rather than just back him each way on his own, put him in an each way double with Jordan's Cross, the horse who beat him by a nose, who will also be running in this Jack Richards. I think he's kind of not one that I would see as like a grade one sort of Ryanair type for next season, but he's one I think you'd happily put in a place pot, and he's going to have his chance. If these grade one types, they might only be kind of three, I think, in the race, probably Slade Steel. I made many notes here, so bear with me. This Slade Steel is Paul's horse, and this Fergal O'Brien's horse. Okay, apologies, I didn't write the names down. I'm getting old and senile, mate. But yeah, they're the ones to me that you could see sort of running in a Ryanair next year. But you know, if for various reasons they don't get it done, you know, Jordan's Cross is kind of nailed on to be running a big race. Yeah, he's got a chance of winning. So yeah, an each way double. Obviously, you got relatable form there with Quebecois and Jordan's Cross. Could, you know, just a bit of change each way double rather than back Quebecois each way. Okay, yeah, sorry, off on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, Slade Steel, look, is Henry de Bromhead is grade one winner at the festival. He looks 146 looks workable for him. He could easily be sort of £10 plus. You know, be capable of running into the sort of high 150s. I think Slade Steel. So that's that, yeah, a couple of points on him. Stayers Hurdle then, we're going, I don't know if you saw the videos the other day, been sort of tossing it around in my mind for a good while now, if to just, we had 2 points on Marchand too. Were we going to go sort of 4 or 5 points on Teapot? It's probably the sensible thing to do, but yeah, we're going all in on Marchand too. So we're going to have another 3 points on him at sevens. There's plenty of sevens about. It's fine. He could end up a point or two shorter, or maybe even a point or two bigger, but I'm happy enough with that price. So you've got 2 points now at eights and now 3 points at sevens. All these are non-runner no bet now, aren't we? Yeah, I just, you know, I've talked plenty about him. Particularly with the ground coming a bit nicer, maybe just sway me away from Teapot a little. Although I do kind of think, you know, the ground was nice enough last time. I do think it's maybe overplayed a little bit with him. The ground is won on decent ground a couple of times, but you know, certainly if it were like soft heavy, it would be more in his favour and less in the favour of others in the race. So maybe if we get into sort of decent ground, that just opens it up the door just a little bit more if you want to take him on. And he's just a nice sort of price. I'm really impressed with his last run, with the sort of sustained pace he showed from around the bottom of the hill all the way through the line. You know, Nicky's horse, he came to challenge him and he just couldn't get to him, and you know, he kind of broke him on the running, I think. You know, he's on a big upward curve, this horse. He's only just got to improve just a little bit more. If he can carry on that upward trajectory into this race, he's going to be right on top of these. And he's, in my mind, he's got a much better chance than his odds suggest, I guess. Which is, you know, I'm not saying he's definitely going to win, but in my mind, I'd be pricing him up around sort of 7-2. I don't see why he's like double the price of, say, an honesty policy, you know. So yeah, he's a nice sort of bet at the price. I think that would be a nice return if he can take that out. We've only got a few more to go. Onto the county hurdle. First sort of play at this. We'll probably have a couple of darts at this. Yeah, we'll have 2 darts at this, but one of them Not sure if it's the main one or not, but we're going to go 2.6 and a half. Yes, that bloody horse. We're going to glutton for punishment. It's 20-1 this time. But we're going to 2 points. It's 20-1 at Bet365. I did get I got a stake back yesterday. I got a little bit back with them yesterday, so I managed. I put it on this because the discrepancy is like 16s elsewhere. Okay, so I appreciate if you haven't got 365, you're looking at 16s. It's still a nice price, but I managed to get the 20s, so we're 2 points at 20s for her. Yeah, look, it's been really disappointing since Cheltenham last year. Showed a bit more spark last time, I thought, though, behind Woodoo. You know, there was just a moment there, probably around the sort of turn for home, where she was travelling into it nice. That way with 2.5 as well, and I think she's much better at 2. I thought last year, she kind of got rode a bit too aggressively for me, but you know, she was going so well and jumping so well, she just sort of carried him into the race, I guess. You'd like to see her hung on to a bit more of a hold-up ride. Yeah, it showed a bit more spark last time, but her jumping weren't as slick as it were kind of last season. So she's got to come forward again from that nice bit of form that behind Woodoo. Obviously, Woodoo's kind of class. This second horse was Feet of a Dancer, who went on to take the Grade 2 out at Donny. And the third horse actually followed Feet of a Dancer home at Donny, you know, so nice bit of form that, and it just, to me, that's the first time she's sort of looked like a horse again since Cheltenham last year, so she could be just coming to herself at the right time. She's got a nice sort of profile for this, coming here off 139, nice sort of rating for this race. I wouldn't put anybody off Gavin's other horse either, you know. The Triumph horse from last year, he's got 2 lively chances here, I'd suggest, but we'll have 2 points on her. Look, I was just looking at the race and I thought, you know, she's one of like 4 or 5 I thought had a good chance, and I like her profile coming here. It just looks nice. She's got the festival form. How good that race were last year, I don't know. It may turn out it weren't that good, you know, because her entitlement's been disappointing too. The third horse with Diva Luna, she looks nice, and the rest were miles behind it. But it won't be a surprise either if her entitlement suddenly comes back to form. She's entered in the coal and the pipe. The betting would suggest she's going the pipe. And, you know, if you're like me, you won't mind. You'd have to play a little bit of an each way double on those 2 as well. You know, there was nothing between those 2 last year, and I think they both got chances of sorts in the races on Friday, you know. So, yeah. Rather than back, you know, you want a backer each way on the day, you get like 6, 7, maybe Sky Bet tend to do like loads of places, don't they? So, but for our purposes, I'm just going to back a couple of points on the nose, and I'll put in a little bit of an each way double with our entitlement. Okay. Yeah, if he can hang on to it more, like, and not kick for home so soon, I can see her running a massive race here. I can. So that's 6.5. the last, I have had a little bit of change on Jalan Duda is for the Bartlett, who's 20 to 1. Could be coming here. I'm not going to put him up here yet. We're kind of keeping that race quite tight. Personally, I've got a bit of change on like 3 or 4, literally just bits of change. Spinning a yarn, I had a small pop at spinning a yarn at 20s. The other 3 are just, like kind of like 50s, 20 odd, and like nearly 60 to 1, just bits of change. So they're all nice returns, but we'll keep it pretty tight for this. So I'm not going to put Jalan Duda up just yet, but could become the main selection in the race. It's on my mind a little bit, but there's like 4 or 5 others on my mind as well for that race. And then the last of our bets today then, I really like the Passing Wife in the Martin Pipe. The 2 strongest handicap fancies of the week would be Passing Wife in the Martin Pipe and Cocktail de Vin in the Jack Richards. And I think they're both going to end up going for the grade 1s instead, which is a shame from my perspective anyway. I'd like the Passing Wife here, but it seems like Gavin's leaning towards supplementing him for the Albert Bartlett. So the only other bet we've got in the race at the moment is Rock Dino. We had a point at 12, so we'll just throw another point on him at 8s. I think he's 8s in one place. I think that would bet Victor, generally 7s. Okay, but I've got bet Victor, so yeah, I'll just throw another point on him. Okay, Rock Dino. He's got form, well beat behind Marty Park and, beat a few lengths behind El Kairos. He's had 5 runs. Just looks like he's kind of been laid out for this, I think, no surprise to see him take a big step forward in this race. Okay, so that's our new bets there. Right. Now, the ante-post roundup then. So we'll factor all those ones into this as well. I'll go with the other ones first, and then we'll read these ones after. In fact, we'll do the ones I've just put up now. Okay, so it's a bit of a roundup as well of what we've just had. Okay, makes sense, doesn't it? I think. Right then. The prices I'm quoting now then are just pretty much non-run and no bet prices. Some of the bets we've had are ante-post prices. So maybe that'll make it look a little bit better than it actually is, I guess. The ante-post prices will be a bit bigger, won't they? But it's just too much of a ball ache to go trying to find all the ante-post prices now. Okay. Alright. So we'll do all these and then maybe just have a little chat about some of them. Okay, so as of today then, we've now got Ultima, Quebecois, 3 points at 12s, Champion Hurdle, Lozzie, 6 points at 11 to 4, 3 mile 6 Novice handicap, we've got Brave Fortune, 3 points at 12s, Jack Richards, we've got Slade Steel, 2 points at 9s, and the county, we've got 6.5, 2 points at 20s. And we've also topped up Marsh on 2. We've had we'll read the we've had another 3 points on Marsh on 2 at 7s, and we've had a point on Rock Dino at 8s. So what's that? We've had another 3, 9, 12, 14, 16, 19, 20. We've had another 20 points on there. Okay. And if Lossiemouth runs in the champion hurdle, she pays for all of those. Okay. Right. Obviously those prices are the present prices. Right, Supreme, we've got 2 points Marty Park, 10 to 1 non-runner no bet, now 9 to 2. In the Arkle, we've got 5 points Kopek de Boards at 5s, now 6 to 4. We've got a point each way Cargeese at 8s, now 6s. Turners, we've got Marty Park 3 points at 11 to 2 and 3 points at 4 to 1. And on running no bet, it's now 7 to 2. Shuttle Diplomacy, we've got a point each way at 50s, now 25s. Browns, we've just got a point on Big Western at 10s, now 5s. And a point on Wendigo at 20s, now 7s. Cross Country, we've got 3 points on Favre de Champdou at 6s, now 11 to 4. In a bumper, we've got Love Side and New, 5 points at 5s. Non-runner no bet, now 9 to 2. 2 points on the Morn Rambler at 20s, non-runner no bet, now 14s. Mares Novice Hurdle, we've got Bambino Fever, 5 points at 7 to 2, now 4 to 5. And we've got Old School Outlaw, 2 points at 7 to 2. The first sort of drifter we've got, just 4 to 1 now. He's non-runner no bet. Marchand 2, yeah, as I just said, we've got 2 points at 8s and 3 points at 7s. Ryanair, we got 8 points on Gaelic Warrior, 7 to 4, non-runner no bet, 6 to 4. Albert Bartlett, we've got 2 points on Spinning a Yarn at 20s, non-runner no bet, now 10s. And in the Gold Cup, we've got Factor File, we've got 4 points, 7 to 2, non-runner no bet. Gone out a point, that's other sort of drifter out to 9 to 2. Django Bay, we've got 2 points. Yeah, we've got a point at 20s and a point at 16s, now 11 to 2. Spillane's Tower came out of the recycle bin, we got a point at 50s, now 14s. And in the pipe, we've got 4 points on the Passing Wife, 12 to 1 non-runner no bet, now 10s. And Rock Dino, a point at 12s, non-runner no bet, and a point at 8s, non-runner no bet, 8 to 1. Okay. We also had a 2 point double, didn't we, on Gaelic Warrior and Narcisco Haas. They were non-runner no bets. We see Narcisco Haas isn't there now, so that's just another 2 points on Gaelic Warrior. Okay. Now, these like Narcisco Haas types that aren't going, you know, that are non-runner no bet, they just kind of disappear off into the ether. Okay, they don't count towards any of the points, you just get the points back. So in total, we've got 82 points on there. We've got 12 points in the recycled bin, which is a lot better than last year, touch wood. And we got a couple of live ones in there. We've got Final Demand 5 points at 6s, shorter now, and 3 points on King Rasco Grey. 2 points of that with 25s, and a point, I think, with 20s or 16s. It were 3 points we had on him for the Turners. Okay, they're in the recycle bin and they're staying there. Okay. But they are sure to, you know, I mean, if you played them and you want to trade them out, and you can, and I'll just leave them. It's up to you. Okay. So in total, combined with what we got on and what's in the bin, that's 94 points. Okay. Now, that could come down a bit. Obviously, Gaelic Warrior is at the moment looking doubtful to go to the Ryanair. It looks looks like it's probably going to be fat to file. I don't know why I just didn't put 8 points on both at the time. I think I just had it in my head. I couldn't really see a world where a horse would win like an Irish Gold Cup in that style and then not running the Gold Cup. It just didn't really occur to me. I just thought he had to go Gold Cup, and maybe he will, but just the betting would suggest and everything would suggest he's going to go right there, and if he does get Elite Warrior, he will go Gold Cup. So that 94 point total, that's probably going to come down a bit. I mean, it is non-runner no bet, but we'll get 10 points off back for Gaelic Warrior, so that total will be 84 then, 10 just off into the ether, Right, yeah. Just thoughts, I guess, quickly on where I am with some of these. We're on 40 minutes, not doing bad. Okay. Supreme, yeah. I'm happy to have more or less blank canvas there. We've got 2 points on Mighty Park at 10-1. As I said in the sort of videos I did with Mark, I changed my mind on this almost daily with the favourite Old Park Star. As I said, I've got something on him. I keep fluctuating between thinking he's almost a good thing to like, I'm not sure, and that's, yeah, so we've got still time to study these and then firm up our opinions and maybe gather a bit more information yet. So, we've got work to do in the Supreme. We don't know where some of these horses are going still even now, do we? We don't know if Mighty Park's going to be here or not, and that's going to change things a little. So we'll see. But yeah, happy with the Mighty Park bet at 10s. All these bets we've had, even the ones in the recycle bin mostly anyway, the ones that aren't completely gone, have shortened up. We dropped half a point on Old School Outlaw and a point on Fat to File, and I suspect the Fat to File one's only because he's probably not going there, I think if he were confirmed for the Gold Cup, then the 7-2 would be looking alright. You'd probably go off, I think he'd probably go off about 5-2, to be honest. So that's another 4 points we're probably going to get back. So this total's going to come down a little before it goes back up. Okay. Anyhow, Arkle, yeah, the vibes seem good for Kopek, don't they? I mean, just going back to the Supreme, in case you didn't sort of see those videos the other day, I do think the race is going to set up nicely for Old Park Star. They're going to go a fierce pace here. He ran round Haydock the last day and showed plenty of pace, but he's got the stamina as well. I think off a real fierce pace, he can just sit nicely in the kind of box seat, sort of third or fourth on the inside and just track that pace through. I think plenty of these could look gone after like 2 or 3 hurdles, I mean, I guess generally if they go a strong pace, an overly strong pace even, you kind of think generally that will suit the hold-up horses, and I think a couple will come into this, but it's going to be a big field. They're going to have traffic to negotiate, and they might get unsighted at a hurdle or so. It's going to be difficult. I'm more inclined to think, like the Constitution Hill Supreme, when like 3/4 of the field were like beat after 2 or 3 hurdles, and it could be almost that way again. I think I can see 4 or 5 of these just getting away from the field, I think of those hold-up horses, I think My Daddy Paddy will travel nicely into the race, at the bottom of the hill. Don't think he'll get up it. Just my views these, I get plenty wrong, but I don't see him coming up the hill. Idaho Sun didn't come down the hill great last year. You know, I can see Old Park Star kind of breezing past him down the hill, you know, before they turn in for home. Al Kairos, got a lot of respect for him. He could come travelling well into it. But what happens when he asks him to go win the race, say if he's sort of going nicely coming to the last, is anyone's guess, you know, anything could happen from there. I couldn't be trusting him. I think he could be champion hurdle type next year, but I think it just, I don't know what happens when, you know, he seems to just have a bit of a head rush when he lets him off, like, and yeah, talk the talk, of course. He's just one. I think he might struggle with the pace they go. He's going to be one of them sort of horses that are more held up. And yeah, I think he could almost bomb out here, but I'd like him in the Turners. I know that seems a bit strange to say. It's just the sort of makeup of the races, I think. But he's got some class about him, haven't we? We don't know. I mean, we're kind of guessing a lot with these horses. We haven't seen all that much of them, have they? But I do think the race will set up nicely for Old Park Star. And he may not be an Alti or a Constitutional. He's certainly not a Constitutional. But he's probably got the highest kind of figures, if you like, coming in here, and he's also got the fact that I think the race will set up perfectly for him, because, you know, he's going to travel nicely just behind the leaders, behind the strong pace, and he stays strongly. You know, I can see him sort of, you know, taking it up round that bend at the bottom of the hill, and, you know, he'll go win the race, like, you know. So maybe one or two will come from the pack, but the types of my Daddy Paddy and El Kairos, you know, they may travel up looking well, but I think after the last, I think he could go away again, Old Park Star here. The flying the ointment would be Mighty Park if he comes here, so I'm not going to get too much into him just yet, because we don't know. Okay, but I think yeah. Right then, so yeah, these are just my kind of thoughts there. Just ramble through these a bit. Kopek, yeah, the vibes seem good. Look, you know, around this, there's a lot of people with a lot of views out there, and, you know, you can kind of get lost. I like to take as much information as possible, like, so you might watch a lot of guys on YouTube and stuff. There comes a point when you get in this close to Cheltenham where you have to kind of also have the ability to, like, turn off the noise, if you like, and go back to what you know. And it's like, you know, don't let daft buggers like me, you know, mess with your head too much and affect your thinking. At the end of the day, it's you in it, and you make the decisions, like, you know, and back what you want to back, and you go back to what works for you, and get back to the fundamentals a bit. Just don't get too lost in all the noise, like, you know, and all the opinions, you know. Okay, so Kopek de Boards, let's look at it properly. He's had one run in November and he's coming in here. That's not a good prep for the Arkle, particularly for a horse like him, because he's got no jumping background there. He's not come from France, and, you know, and he's not come from the point to points. So for a horse like him, you'd love him to have had more experience. I think he is quite a natural, but he's also got, he's a bit mad as well, isn't he? And just for a horse like him, you'd love him to have had another run or two. Just, is he going to be a bit too fizzy here? So you're placing quite a lot of trust in Willie to get this guy here in the right frame of mind. If you've got to trust anyone, it's Willie, and Willie does Willie things at Cheltenham. He downed Lalamba last year. There'll be a horse that had never even seen a hurdle before. He took out the Coral Cup, be a horse we'd not seen all season. And at the end of the day, Kopek is, if there's one horse in here that's coming back for a champion chase next year as like a strong favourite, is Kopek de Boards. It is. He's the one horse in here that could run in a champion hurdle and have a good shout. If he win the champion hurdle this year, he'd probably be favourite. Okay. You can't say that about any of the other horses. So I think as a 2-miler, he's got the most natural ability. He's got the strongest form. He's got the strongest hurdles form. His rivals are either kind of coming from the Triumph or he beat them last year. Most of them, yeah. So that's where we are. He's 6-4. I think he's going to take this out. I do. Okay. But that's me. Okay. But I do. I think he's just going to go and win this. But we don't know, do we? I'm not going to sit here and say, look, he's definitely going to win this. Because you can't say things like that. You don't know. Nobody knows. And But I think he'll win it. Okay. Cargis, I think, with the possibility now, Marine National, we lost him from the champion chase, which is a big shame. That takes a lot away from that race. And subsequently, Irish Panther could possibly be tempted to go in there now. If they do, that would be, I'd suggest, a benefit to Cargis, because Irish Panther would be one of the horses in this race kind of taking her on. I think Cargis is going to take him along here if she ain't got Irish Panther either to worry about. That just gives her just that little bit more breathing space. I know she had a tough race last time. I think she'll win a big race here. I do. I think she's a nice sort of each way play in this race if you want to take on the front two. So I'm happy with our bets there. I am. Lalamba, if you want to play Lalamba and you're not on yet, I'd suggest, and it could go wrong, because if say Kopek goes at first or something, but if Kopek's doing well, I'd say, and you don't mind in running stuff, you get a bigger price in running for Lalamba. I'd wait till, you can watch the first 3 or 4. If he's out of contention, then you saved yourself a bet. And if he's still there, but you maybe would think he's maybe not the winner at the time, then you can back him at a decent sort of price, and then, he is very like Altior-ish, isn't he? I remember, watching Altior around here, and, round the bottom of the hill he's been rode along, and you think, this horse is in trouble. But then he gets to the bottom of the hill and he storms up it, doesn't he? And, if Nicky's horse takes this out, you'd imagine that's kind of how this will play out for him. Okay, so I'd suggest if you like that horse and you're not on, I'd maybe back him in running there. You'd get a nicer price. Okay. Turners, look, if I'm not going to go on too much more about my part. I just think it could be. I think it could be something. You know, it be 38 length. The horse he beat then ran Gordon's horse to 3. Like I said plenty of times, and now that don't make him 35 lengths better, but that's a fair distance, isn't it? He's a good horse. He is. You know, this Marty Park. I think he's a Grade 1 horse if he's like experienced enough to be taken out of Grade 1 Novice next week. I don't know, we'll find out. He could just blow him away, you know. If there's a special horse in here, he's the one, I think. And, you know, this is like the Olympics, isn't it? We do see special horses at Cheltenham. Like, there's a special one in here, I think it's him. And then I love the shuttle diplomacy each way about 50s. He's going to run a massive race, here he is. If Talk the Talk comes here, I think he's the one to beat. I had something on him, I did suggest him the last time I did a video. Could be worth having a bit on him, non-running no bet. I think he were 5s, he's 7-2 now. The price was just wrong, like, you know, he was just presuming they were going to go Supreme, and he probably will go Supreme, but you just don't know. If it's non-running no bet, why not? If he comes here, I think he's got a big chance, I do. You know, I'd say it'd be between the two, although my Pog may be in the Supreme. But yeah, we're not going to go around in circles. We'll know more next time I see you, okay? Right, the Browns, I'm still not making my mind up just yet. Thrown me a bit this Cocktail Divin thing. I had him down as like a 2.5 miler. If Henry wants to come here with him, I mean, you know, you've got to respect that. You know, Henry's not running in him here just for the fun of it. You know, if Henry's he's got the big Westerner here, who's like second favourite. So it's thrown me a bit that he wants to run Cocktail Divin in here. I know there's a lot said about Big Western, oh, she needs heavy ground and all this, but her best run ever was here last season on like nearly good ground in the Albert Bar that went down narrowly to Jasmine DeVale. That's like by some way the best bit of form she's got. So yeah, softer ground would suit her, but she clearly handles the better ground. Maybe it's a little bit different with them chasing. I guess they're coming down from a bit more height, aren't they? So I guess maybe you've got to factor that in a little bit. But you'd have to. I thought he was a doubtful stayer, Cocktail Divin, but I do like the horse. So Wendigo 20-1's a great bet. You know, got his chance. It's a race I've got to have a bit more of a look at, so we'll have a chat more about that next time I see you. But I like the two bets we got there. The cross country, Favre de Champdou just wins. Coming for relentless support, this horse, hasn't it? You know, I think he's actually favourite now over Stumptown. I thought he'd shorten up, but I weren't. He's one of those. You imagine he must be doing good things at home because, you know, he just every day seems to get shorter. The bumper, yeah. Look, I won't swap a two there. I respect my dad's opinion, and I love Sandon, who did look very good last time. And I like the Morn Rambler as well, so I think we've got two nice starts at that. The Morn Rambler, yeah, she, you know, one of Flat Boys is riding her in here, and yeah, 20-1's a nice bet for that horse. I won't go. Talked plenty about him already, haven't I? Mares Novice Bambino's just got smashed. I presume she's doing nice things at home. Older School Outlaw seems a bit weak out to fours. Yeah, there seems a lot of confidence. But look, that bumper form is looks very tasty from last season. You know, if she can run up to that sort of level, she takes this out. You know, so she's got a strong chance. She has the track should suit her maybe better than the new course should suit her better than the old as well. Which, yeah, great chance in that. But we've been here before with that race, haven't we? Stays Hurdle, yeah, Marchand too. We've chatted about him today. Yeah, lovely bet at sort of 7-1. Well, nice sort of bet. Got a good chance. Yeah, Gaelic Warrior, the Ryanair. It does seem like we kind of went for the wrong one. Yeah, like I say, should have just like done the same. We've had to foul at the same time. As I mentioned, just after winning the Irish Gold Cup like that, it didn't really occur to me that he wouldn't be in the Gold Cup, to be honest. But here we are. Yeah, odds on now. Factor far 4-6. I'm not really going to put him up as a bet there. I had a little bit on the treble. I chatted about it with Mark, and I couldn't help myself yesterday. So I did add a few points on that treble, and I should probably know better. But it's Cheltenham, but I won't get mad on it. Like what did it pay? What did it pay? I think it was just over 6-1. Yeah, just over 6-1, and then that was Bambino Fever. Lossiemouth for the mares, and yeah, Factor Fall for the Ryanair. Thursday kind of looks the favourites, the strongest, the day with the strongest sort of favourites. Traditionally, it's been the day, the bookies have done best at, so that's not a good combination, is it? But it does feel like there should be a few favourites going in on Thursday, okay. But yeah, funny things happen at Cheltenham, don't they? And if they don't run it on paper, do they? But yeah, and I mean, we backed Lossiemouth today for the champion hurdle, so she may not be even an ear. And if she weren't, it's a double then, isn't it, with Bambino Fever and Factor Far. But it's what it is. Right. But yeah, I mean, Factor Far runs in it, he just wins it. Oh, do you know, jeez, I forgot a bet, and it's because it's a Wednesday bet, and I don't. Right, let's just finish these races off. I might have to go and get my phone. I don't know if the prices are still there for it. Okay, right. Albert Bartlett, yeah, more to do with that. Front two look very short to me. Gold Cup, look, if Factor File's not here and the ground's drying out, the drying ground would be, I mean, you're presuming, there's two presumptions there already, there's a presumption Factor File's not here, and there's a presumption the ground's going to be drying out, but if so, that will probably count against Spillane's Tower a little bit, and it would also count against Haiti Couleurs a little bit, I'd say, which kind of clears the way, but we may end up topping up on Django Bay. I think it kind of increases chances, I guess, because it sort of decreases maybe some of his main rivals' chances. So, and the pipe, yeah, look, if Gavin runs a passing wifey, I think she wins it. I do, I think that she's 10-1 now. He's 10s. I think he goes off. You do well to get 5s anyway. So I've got to consider that horse for an Albert Bartlett now. So I've got to readjust my thinking there as well, and have sort of fresh look at that, I guess. And yeah, we'll see. Right, so the horse I forgot. Right, the Champion Chase. Okay, I had a look at this yesterday, and I backed one. Okay, and I don't mind the bet, and I'll put it up here, but just give me a minute. Let me get my phone, because I don't want to put you away with the price. Okay. Right, this is exciting. This is this is making it up as you go along, isn't it? But I did have this bet yesterday. Hopefully, there's some prices, because we're in that twilight zone, aren't we? It's 10-12. Okay, when the prices are maybe readjusting or being suspended and stuff. Right. Okay. Champion Chase. Yeah, this 8-1 out there for this horse. The horse I backed in this is Quilixios. Okay. Now, Masborough is probably going to win, but he's not a horse. That 8-1 should be about the same sort of price, really. It shouldn't change dramatically. You may even get a little bit bigger at some stage. 8-1's with William Hill. 7's sort of everywhere else. Okay, not everywhere else is currently crowded. 7's at Paddy's, Sky Bet, whatever. But I backed this horse already yesterday. Okay, right. I'm only going to have one bet in the race, and it's going to be him. And yeah, I've had to bet. So, what many points we put him down for? 5. Go 5 points. Okay, on Quilixios at 8s for this race, and that's a one bet for the Champion Chase. Yeah, not seen him this season, have we? Henry de Bromett. Look, right, Masborough. Should be winning this. He should be. But he's not a horse for me. I could be backing at odds on. Okay, he's just got a mistake in him, Ante. And again, like I say, it's sun's out today. I'm kind of thinking, I did look at the weather forecast. There's just spits and spats of rain about. There's nothing significant really for the next week or so on the weather forecast I just looked at anyway. So I'm thinking good to soft ground. Okay, but I mean, we've been here before, haven't we? There were no rain forecasts like a few years back, weren't they? And then, like, you woke up Wednesday and you're whacking horses, you thought, wanted nice ground, like good ground, good to soft. And then you woke up and it were heavy. Like, these things can happen. They can, but, it's an ante-post sort of series, isn't it? And we have to make calls, judgment calls. So I'm sort of thinking good to soft. So John Green, good friend of the podcast, put it well last time. In the comments there, top bloke he is, and he said last time all the lights were on green from Ashborough, and that's just what it were. It were like every fence he kind of met on a stride. The ground went against everything else in the race, suited him really nicely. You know, I love the horse, I do, and the cheek pieces, you know, put the cheek pieces on, let him roll, made a big difference. And he could, like, you know, he could win this well. He's odds on, you know. Of course, he's got a good chance, and he could easily win the race. He could. I'm not going to sit here, you know, and tell you to have 12 points on Majborough 8 to 11, like, you know. And I won't have that bet myself, so I'm not going to tell you to do it, but I'm not going to tell you he's not going to win either, like, you know. He's got a great chance. He has. But I wanted to have a bet in the race, and if Majborough beats himself, I think Quilixios is the bet here. Okay, and 8 to 1's a nice sort of price. Not seeing him this season. It's Henry de Bromhead. Look, if if you're ever struggling in the champion chase, just back Henry de Bromhead. I meant to make some more notes for this because I just forgot about the horse. But he's won this with types you wouldn't have thought he might have won it with in the past. Types of like a Captain Guinness and a Put the Kettle On and them sort of horses, you know. Them sort of horses can win this, and he's not a terrible horse. Did he take out a Triumpherdal? He's got a good Cheltenham record. He's got a very good record fresh. He's won first time out most seasons, like, you know. He were upsides Marine National last season when he come down at the last. Would have probably not been beat more than like a few lengths there, you know. And if Majborough beats himself a repeat performance, if he can repeat that, and obviously get over the last, that could well be good enough to take this out, you know. So I do think he's a nice bit of value. You know, I know earlier in the season he was wild price, like, you know, and if you're on him, like, well played. But I think, you know, looking at the race fresh now, I still think he's the bet. I think he's the value. I do. Quilixios. Okay, so we're gonna have 5 points on him at 8s. That's a nice bet. Henry's just a master of Cheltenham. Obviously not ideal. We've not seen him out. He says he's in great form. Not mighty form. Great form's probably a level down from mighty form, but he's still really positive, like, you know. So he seems positive about him, and if he's got him there kind of bang on, he's got a more than a little squeak here, I'd say. 8 to 1, okay, and that's that. So that's, just add that one into the totals. That takes up 5 points on him. That takes up to 99 in total. Then okay. So have a flake, have a flake on that. So what are we on? Well, we've gone well over an hour now. We were doing well for time. Then I started rambling. Okay. So thanks for watching. Then I do appreciate your time. I'll be back Cheltenham Eve on Monday. If not, I'll definitely be. We'll be doing a video Cheltenham Eve, definitely 100%, and possibly I may pop in and do a quick video on Sunday, but that's just a possibility. It just depends if there's stuff. I should have a bit of time on Sunday, and if there's some sort of bets I'm putting on that sort of price sensitive, you know, that I think need to be put on then rather than the day after, then I may pop in and just do a quick video on Sunday. Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching. I do appreciate your time. If I don't see you again, like if you don't watch me again before next week, then very best of luck, and I hope you have a great Cheltenham. All right then. See you again soon. Bye.